point made by Joe Higgins there that here there was opportunities to introduce measures and changes to the planning laws that could have saved a lot of water that was leaking down the drain pipes over many years. It wasn't done, and largely because of that failure, people are now being forced to pay water charges. And in any event, this was paid out to Central Exchequer, where there was an element of progressivity in some of the taxes. There's hardly any element of progressivity in the water charges.
Look, I think it's a fair comment that because of the light touch regulation we had in the building industry, particularly in the beginning part of the 2000s, up until 2006, 2007, that there was shabby installation, to put it at its most charitable, in terms of water pipes. And that manifested itself when we had the big freeze in 2009, when water pipes that were only 2 or 3 inches under the ground burst all over the place. But that, to be fair to this government, wasn't this government's responsibility. And looking at it now, we are
Labour and Fine Gael were in government along with Democratic left.
There were, but in the 1990s, Vincent, the quality of workmanship in houses and properties that were being built in those years was an awful lot better than what transpired in the 2000s. And you talk to anybody who has a house that was built in the 1990s.
I remember Fine Gael complaining about that in the 2000s too.
Yeah, and they should have been. But sure, look at anything Fine Gael complained about when certainly towards the end of the last government, between 2004 upwards, there was no notice taken, including things like benchmarking.
The only thing that the Fine Gael didn't support during all those years, all the policies that got us into trouble, bar benchmarking. They supported all the policies that got us into trouble, bar benchmarking, and indeed they demanded that those policies that got us into trouble be made worse.
Well, benchmarking was systematic of the culture that existed back then, but I have to correct you. Fine Gael, during the last government and the previous government, 2002 to 2007, spoke regularly about the need to reform planning laws and to ensure that there was a much better regulation of planning in this country.
In the 2002 election, this was the election when Fine Gael proposed that, for instance, those who lost money in telecom shares be remunerated, and taxi drivers who lost the value of their taxi licence, they'd be remunerated as well. Remember that?
I do, and that was bizarre and shouldn't have happened, absolutely. And I think nobody in their right mind would defend that. It was just ridiculous. But in terms of planning, and I was a member of Clare County Council during that period, so I would have some knowledge in terms of party policy in that area. And certainly there was a campaign, a significant campaign by Fine Gael, which unfortunately for this country fell on deaf ears to improve the regulation of the building industry. But that said, we are where we are. The bottom line is 1.2 million